Today we're talking about the idea and topic of your careers and managing those careers. Why is this important? Well, we've been talking about the whole notion of training, which is providing the skills, the resources necessary typically for the job that you're doing. We've talked about throughout the whole course the idea of development, where you're preparing people for the future based on their potential and based on the skills that they need for future progression in an organization. Underpinning all that is, what do people want to do? What do they want to be? Now, that's a very, very loaded, kind of difficult question to answer. I often ask that myself. What do I want to be when I grow up? And I think it's important to get a handle on that. And what we'll be talking about in this section is understanding some of the parameters of career management and how they impact employee training and development. So we'll talk about briefly why, in terms of the objectives, this is important. Discuss how this career management idea has changed and evolved, looking at the kinds of tasks and activities that provide the right career development experiences, looking at the parameters of designing a career management system, and the whole idea of being electronically enabled through the web to manage your career has now come online, and how to perform effectively as a manager in the career management schema. So a lot of companies have restructured, resized, downsized, upsized. In that process, it's always good to ask, what do people want or what are they best suited for? I often believe in my heart, most people don't come to work each day saying, I want to screw up. How can I effectively screw up today on my job? Now, there may be some people out there that we know on a real exception basis. I think it's more the case people just don't fit into their job or even in the organization. So this career topic can help people and managers kind of come to terms with, what do people want? What are some of their interests? What are their values? And match those interests, needs, wants, values to what may be available in the organization from a career kind of perspective. So what is career? Well, career management is a way in which employees, all of us, become aware of, what are my interests? What am I good at? What do I value? What are my strengths? What are my things that I need to work on? I also then try to put that in the context, what's available to me in the organization? A lot of people just don't know, or they have a very myopic view of the kinds of opportunities that are available. So if you can increase the landscape of having people become aware of the kinds of opportunities that are more broadly available, that will help, I think, match what maybe some of their own career interests to their goals. And then finally, career management is about creating the plans necessary for people to achieve their own goals. From the company's perspective, this disconnect can have negative consequences. We're obviously concerned, and we've been talking about how you develop leaders and succession plans, or how you get people developing well. But if you don't understand the career perspective as well, this too can result in a shortage of people to fill vacancies. And when that starts happening, especially today when there's such a robust labor market or the need for employees, if people can't see the kinds of things that are available, sometimes they're not as committed. And then you have to really appropriate the right amount of monies, resources to train and develop. I'm actually pleased to report, I think I'm seeing even more organizations have specific programs on managing your career, for example, or understanding the careers within company X. They're actually creating, more than I've ever seen in the past, workshops, seminars, formal programs around this topic of career management. From an employee's perspective, if this isn't addressed, can result in frustration. Maybe they don't feel as valued by the company, and they may not feel that they can make the right kind of investment if a change were to occur, or in today's climate, acquisitions, mergers. If you're not centered, at least in some way, at what you're interested in from a career point of view, it's kind of hard to make the right decisions when the whole organization around you is changing. So there's ideas of traditional versus a protection kind of career. A traditional career is typically what we think about, where you hold a series of jobs, positions, and they become increasingly complex, broad, global, and that kind of matches in with the employee interest. A more kind of random kind of a career approach, on the other hand, is where there's a lot of change going on in an organization. And we see this today where companies are saying they want their employees to take charge of the responsibility for managing their careers. And those workshops that I mentioned to you, those seminars, those programs that I see more and more coming up, both in classroom and even online, or even in a hybrid format, are getting people themselves to really understand what they're interested in, what they value, and then putting together their own career management plan in concert with their boss that can help them plan the future moves in an organization. So, also important is people progress through careers and stages. And these stages, given a typical career, can involve the following. You explore. You try to figure out, what am I really interested in? Typically, somebody graduating from an undergraduate or even graduate program may be in an exploration stage. And I encourage people, if they're in this kind of stage, take different opportunities. See what you like, what you don't like, before you kind of put down your anchor and say, I've arrived. You've established yourself the next stage in an organization. That may take some time. I certainly encourage different career job experiences to help kind of figure out your career agenda. And then at some point in a person's career, they're maintaining themselves as they prepare for retirement or disengagement as one of the other 4 career stages. Here is an outline of the different career stages and the kinds of things where, as people are beginning their career and progress over to disengagement, they may spend their time in. And it's also segmented by the typical career, years of age and the kinds of activities that are associated in each of those kinds of stages. So as I mentioned, in exploration, you're typically starting out in a company. You're trying to learn, follow directions, become an effective member, understand what you're good at, what you may need to work on. You're being more of an apprentice. And then as you move forward with more years of experience, you become known as more of a colleague. And then you're looking at more advancement, growth, development to prepare you for even higher increased responsibility. Maintenance, once you've kind of reached a level, and that level is very much defined by the individual where they want to be and where they want to go, you've typically locked on to mentor. One thing I may mention here, though, it's good to have that mentor even in the exploration stage. And then finally, looking at disengaging, maybe retirement, or even in some cases today, starting a whole new career. And I'm seeing that happen where people, maybe like some of you, are looking at kind of graduate work education as a way to make a kind of transition to something else. Now, these career stages have been around forever. But one thing has changed in recent time, and the research points to this. People are progressing through these stages much faster. So here it's presented very much in a siloed, progressive kind of way. Well, as organizations change, as people become more knowledgeable through the internet, as they get further skilled up, we're seeing a collapse of time in these stages. So people might be, in fact, disengaging from an organization after only 10 years or so of experience. And we've seen this happen as an outcome. And then they have to kind of regenerate and recharge and redefine their careers. So, what does this say? Career management becomes even more important as the change process has escalated so much for people progressing their careers in organizations. You have to kind of have a backup plan and look at other kinds of career approaches or other kinds of jobs inside the organization or outside the organization should things change dramatically enough in your own work environment where you have to make those kinds of moves. So it's all about continually self-assessing, looking at your strengths, development needs. I know for myself, my needs have changed, and I went from a learning process, still learning, but now trying to give back to people learning the field of human resources, as that field has been so good to me. And then continually readjusting my goals and doing the right actions that can help further my career. It's all about assessing. It's all about matching my needs, assessment profiles to what's out there in jobs. It's looking at data, information, and now that we have so much on the internet and in data sets, we could better match people's career interests to what might be available externally or internally in an organization. So it's a complex kind of process. It involves us, the employees, it involves the company, it involves our managers, and HR is taking a much bigger and active role, not only in training and development, but in this arena of helping people figure out their careers. And it's a way to provide feedback from their managers around what your strengths and weaknesses are, areas for development, looking at the stages and where you are in that process, and creating the right visibility in an organization so that you can be considered, as well as you could self-nominate for jobs or opportunities that might be of interest to you.